Hit the button. Yeah, video on a couple of subjects. Piro, video, and Snake Plisskeness, Lord and Savior guy. Yeah, I don't really like the Lord and Savior stick, but shtick. But whatever. So it's, about this whole, Piro's talking immigration, and it's like any other social policy, progressive policy, whatever you want to call it, politics. And it's just, you have to frame it in some sort of logical context. And, what's going to happen? What are we heading for? What makes a civilization? Some kind of argument like that. And he won't have that kind of argument. He's just going to have some sort of, you're a racist argument, or, some other kind of bullshit psychology that has nothing to do with reality, in my opinion. But it just gets to the opening of the door to these other subjects, which people are totally uninterested in, which is, how do you design the system? It's like writing a programming language, to put it in Piro, maybe something Piro can understand. And if your language is incoherent, your programming will be shit. And the language of our democracy is garbage. The system isn't, it's not a language. It's got a whole bunch of incoherent bits, a bunch of unfairnesses, a bunch of cheats, a bunch of crap built into it that's wormed its way into it. And somehow people are afraid to clean it up. And, and now we're taking the wretched refuse who refuse to clean up their own system, and so they want to come here and muck up ours, to be crude about it. But it's sort of what it comes down to. Even in this country, if we have a civil war tomorrow between the Democrats and the Republicans, it would be like choosing between shitheads and assholes. And certainly I can empathize with the people of Syria and say, okay, they're in sort of a shitty condition, but they're not really running from that condition. I mean, factually. They don't want freedom. They want to impose religion on everybody. They're nuts. They're crazy. And I could say the same thing about South American Catholics. They don't want to come here and be civilized. They want to come here and make babies. They don't have any idea what it takes to have a civilization. That's why their own countries suck. And so to some extent, I thought I can empathize with this no choice thing, where your side is so corrupt, that corrupted by bad policy, that you just can't vote for it. You just can't say, okay, I'd pick up a gun and fight for that. No, I'm not going to. I mean, I'd fight for a Hoover Dam, some sort of rational, human endeavor. But I'm not going to fight for welfare checks, so people can have 7 kids on welfare. No, I'm not going to defend that. Fuck that. So if I have to have the progressive ideal of social infrastructure, I have to buy welfare whores. Well, no deal. It's not worth it. It's not a rational, practical investment. You've destroyed the value of the good thing you're investing in by just, destroying the value of it. It's like putting solar panels on roofs, right? And the government's subsidizing that, and the whole thing. It's just, well, yeah, let's invest in a plan that's guaranteed to destroy 50% of the efficiency right off the bat. Just destroy 50% of the efficiency of applying the technology for no good reason whatsoever, so everybody can have their own personal solar plant. Stupid. So why I can't vote for it. So as much as I say, oh yeah, it makes sense to do solar, it makes no sense to do it the 50% most inefficient way right off the bat, right off before you even start. At least 50%. Could be even worse than that in terms of the degrade of efficiency. And then if you were smart about it, you'd say, fuck the solar panels anyway. Just do the damn mirror thing. Do the many other social investments in renewable energy that are more economically sensible than solar panels. But we don't do any of this. Why? Because there's no rationality. So let's get into this Snake Plisskeness part of this. He's basically making my argument that we as a species are not too stupid to fix this, to have a civilization. We are smart enough. We're smart as the Romans and all these other things, and they all failed because they allowed themselves to become stupid. They allowed themselves to be diluted out of power. And you can find lots of, there's lots of insidious examples. It's like the North and South, okay, with racism and the whole. It's kind of figured that, okay, the North was all progressive, and they were thinking about the poor slaves and all that kind of stuff. But if you really look into it, you'll see that a lot of the Northern intellectuals, because they were intellectuals, they were scientist types, Jefferson for example, they had done some calculations on paper and sort of figured out that, hey, you know what, blacks are out-birthing whites by 10 to 1 in America, right? I mean, the slave population's growing faster than the white population. And that's sort of a dilemma that won't go away. Because the more slaves you make, the cheaper the slaves get, right? Technically, you don't even have to buy them anymore. There'll be so many of them. And everybody will have one, And then what do you do when you're outnumbered? That isn't going to work. So it's like some of them weren't even defending social justice. They were defending the practical reality that this isn't going to work. That it's not a long-term, it's not a sustainable mechanism. It will degrade your civilization ultimately, because then most of your population are going to be people you didn't even educate. And that's going to be failure. And Jefferson sort of saw that. I mean, he did school his slaves, and he did try to make them industrious in some sort of free enterprise kind of manner and all that kind of crap. But that was all kind of usury also. But anyway, I don't want to get into the Jefferson argument. But I just mean it as a sense that there's an intelligent perspective, and then there's this stupid perspective. And that's just the truth. There's a bunch of idiots walking around who have done no effort, made no effort, have spent no real angsty time studying something and saying, what's wrong with this? Why doesn't this thing work? What's wrong with democracy, for example? Or what's wrong with the legal system? Or what's wrong with the way we do this or the way we do that? Because we see the corruption in it, right? We see the Supreme Court is basically assholes. A group of assholes. They're not the best of America. These people any of these people impress you? Well, none of them impress me. So what's wrong with the system? Why isn't it working? Because it's patronage. Because they're getting paid off for something they've done for somebody, or their wife did, or somebody else did. And it has absolutely nothing to do with anybody. It's about politics, and it's about getting what they want. And it's not about doing the right thing. Doing the best you can for America. It's like I see, so this is the irony of part of this immigration argument, is that part of me wants to say, hey, you gotta want to be an American. But what is an American anymore? Even Americans don't want to be Americans. They don't want to invest in their country. They're all hated. They're all afraid of their government, afraid of their democracy, and afraid of everything. So what the fuck good is it? I mean, if the people who already, the domestic population, won't even defend it, won't even fight for it. So that's sort of, like I said, Lord and Savior guy, Snake Plissken, is making this appeal that, hey, there's rational people on this planet, and these rational people have to quit just sitting back and letting it happen, and they have to start doing something. They have to extort. They have to take their share of power, because this is how power works now. Power doesn't work in the old traditional way where you had to actually win. Now all you have to do is extort your way in. So you just tell one party. If you got 1 million people, or 2 million, or better yet 4 million, you got a union of 4 million people, well then you just go to the two political parties and you say, look, 70% of elections will be decided by 4 million votes, or whatever the number is. What are you giving us? We'll vote for you if you give us something. If you let us extort you. And it works. And that's why the two parties suck, is because they both sell out. I mean, most people in America don't want open immigration. It's just a fact. But there's nothing, you can't see it anywhere in policy. The one policy they had that actually worked, employer sanctions, they got rid of so fucking quick because they said, fuck this, it works. We don't want a policy that works. Because they're both out to exploit something. One side's exploiting, the poor huddled masses, they'll vote for me. Yeah. And the other side's exploiting in, I'm against immigration. But I'm all for visas that people let expire. I'm all for getting workers in here. As soon as wages get as soon as any job gets too few people willing to do it, well, bring them in. I mean, Trump will do that, of course. As soon as there's any upward pressure on wages in any job category, I'm sure Trump's going to sign the piece of paper saying, yeah, let a bunch of people from India or China or anywhere you can find them come in here to drop wages back down. So these people don't give a fuck. Anyway, I mean, it's not about civilization anyway. It's not about having civilization and understanding that you have to pay a price for civilization, which is you have to have a system. You have to do some work to make it work. It's like making a city or anything else. You have to engineer it. And if you're not willing to pay the price of engineering, and especially engineering in a democracy, which is really a pain in the ass, because a lot of times you're not going to get what you want for 10 or 15 or 20 years. You're going to have to fight for it. But that's what's necessary. And it just seems like there's way too many people who just won't press the right button. They won't press the okay, I'll bite some kind of rubber bullet. I mean, it's not a real nasty bullet, it's just a rubber bullet. And they won't even bite that. They won't do anything to say, yes, this is the plan, we know where we want to be, and you're not going to get there basically subsidizing stupidity, investing in it. I mean, you have to have a system of rewards and punishments. This is, humans are animals, and just like any other animal, you got to reward it and punish it, or it's not going to do anything you want it to do. It's just not going to work. And human beings are the same way. And you just can't have this system where if you do the right thing, you're fucked because everybody else is doing the wrong thing and getting paid to do it. Borrow money, don't pay it back. Fuck it. Yeah, it's okay. Nobody has to pay for it. I mean, there are people, you see them. I tell you, I'm even friends with some people who still can't figure out simple things like, when they take something back to the store, everybody has to pay for that. We just paid for your stupidity. We just paid for you to be an asshole. Oh, I just wanted to dress for one party. That means we just paid for it, asshole. I mean, little things like that. It's like dumping garbage in the street or something. Well, yeah, it goes into the sewer, that goes into the stream, that goes into the drinking water that somebody else has to drink, you idiot. I mean, this isn't complicated. But nobody wants to fight for anything better. And like I said, the smart people have to know. They have to see the writing on the wall. This isn't working. This system will not create civilization. It'll get worse and worse. It'll get uglier and smellier and dirtier and grosser. It's not going to get better this way. And so you have to change it. And change is going to require you to give up something, maybe. Give up your love of the Republican elephant or whatever it is that you're horny for. I don't know, your notion of independence, your notion that somehow the future is going to be better served if everybody's got, their laser-guided missile gun. No, it's not. It's going to be better when people don't want to have one, don't need to have one, don't even have a notion in their head that it's practical or useful to have one. People make your civilization. And again, if you just have a bunch of takers and liars and cheaters, ignorant masses as your people, then you're not going to have a civilization. You have to try to make your people into something. Something better than ignorant masses, huddled dumbasses. So, if you haven't gotten the gist, yes, I'm completely opposed to this idea that somehow immigration is the future. That it's some kind of progressive idea of this is how we become great. No, it's how you become great when you have a huge country of vast, unexploited resources. Then immigration can make sense, because you don't have the people to exploit what you have. But we're way past that. We're way past the Industrial Revolution. All those ships have sailed. And ignorant labor has about as little value as it could possibly have. Even slaves wouldn't be affordable now. Somebody couldn't own a slave anymore as a practical thing. They couldn't afford to house it and feed it. As a fact. Especially if you just moderately regulated slavery, just obliged that they have minimal health care and minimal this and minimal. You couldn't afford to have a slave. It's much cheaper to rent yourself a Mexican. Why would you own a slave when you could just rent a Mexican for 1/4 of the price? So that's how bad it is. It's so bad that we're making slavery wouldn't even work. That's how bad things are. And it's bad because we're saying make it bad, make it worse. Import broken. Don't import something that works. Don't import something that wants to invest in your country. Just invest in people who want to exploit the fuck out of whatever they can get out of it. People who just want to take or, ideologically want to convert you into a Muslim or a Catholic. I mean, these are simple things. I mean, I'd have a rule. Okay, you're immigrating and you're illegal. You can't have kids. Fuck you. If you have kids, you got to pay us. Yeah, that's it. Or you go home. But you're not coming here to have kids. Fuck you. Do that at home. Yeah, it's just one of the rules. Sorry, but that's the rule. Yeah, that's one of the rules I'd have. You're coming here to help to advance us. If you're coming here to leech off us, fuck you. Been there, done that. So yeah, if you have to be able to afford them. All right. So let's just say it that way. If you want to have kids and you're illegal, the higher standard is you have to have money in the bank. You have to demonstrate your ability to finance your enterprise. But that would just be the obligation, is to have a higher standard. And again, I'm not saying this out of bigotry, because I'm saying it out of the same sense as, I often thought about moving to Asia, because I sort of liked Asian culture. I mean, things about it anyway. At least the idea that there was no, it wasn't Christian. I guess that was one of the things. I mean, I guess I didn't, the deeper you get into it, you see that it's full of a bunch of ritual and superstition, and you say, well, maybe that's useless. But it was the idea that it was kind of mechanical, and I found that appealing, the mechanicalness of many the way Asians think, or so to speak, or the traditions of Asian culture are kind of pragmatic, and I sort of like that pragmatism, maybe. I didn't like the chauvinism, a lot of things I didn't like, but anyway, I'm just saying, but I always thought that I would go and try to be Asian. I wouldn't go there and just be an ugly American and say, I'm going to bring my traditions and my loves and my things and my shit, and I'm just going to pile that in their world. I'm going to come there like a fucking garbage pile and just bring my garbage like Linus's blanket. I'm going to bring my American values and, dirty up the place with that crap. Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near what I was thinking, that I'd be Americanizing the Chinese or the Japanese. Exactly the opposite. I would become Japanese. But that's not the attitude of the immigrants. Come on, get real. And again, it's this, what are you importing? Are you importing people who have ideals and some sort of rational perspective regarding life on Earth? No, they have completely irrational perspectives dictated by dogmatic religious nonsense rather than any notion of what civilization requires. And it's just stupid. Imported. Why? It's like a virus. I'm sorry. It's just that it's that factual. It's like it's again with the space going into space argument. Would I send a bunch of convicts into space? Oh yeah, let's put a bunch of convicts and people with marginal IQs and even a few retards. Let's send them into space. Would that make sense? It'd be good to seed the universe with that. And all you're saying is this love affair with the poor is just basically the same thing. It's saying let's cherish the bathwater, and the baby's just gonna die. Fuck it. It's that simple. It's the truth. Poverty is bad, and people in poverty should have respect for the fact that they're in a bad circumstance, and that bad circumstance needs to be fixed before they start laying eggs and dog shit. Fuck. It's not that complicated, in my opinion. So anyway, that's entirely the subject I want to get on. But it's an ugly subject. There's no way to have this conversation with people. So it doesn't really, there's no point. And again, I've already tried with the Vlogger Dome and, the reforms to democracy that need to be made. We've got to get rid of the two-party system. It's just a system of it guarantees that evil minorities win. That's what it guarantees. It doesn't guarantee a fair fight and the best argument wins. It's not one man, one vote. None of that shit exists in our democracy. Our democracy is a piece of shit. It's been destroyed by compromise, and compromise with extortionists, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, the Democratic Party, we have to accept the extortion of the government workers, the teachers union, and the love affair with immigrants and welfare whores. So to have progressive policy where we might have a little bit of social investment and a little bit of rational taxation against the rich, I have to accept the huge blight of, let's spend a bunch of money on education so they can drop out. Let's finance student loans so they can not finish school. Let's not do any of that shit. Let's create a system of reward and punishment, and a system where there's so many ways you could do this, but you could put 1,000. Every kid that's born, you could put $1,000 in a bank account, collecting interest, and let's just give it good interest, 10% a year or something, and or 20 even. Something to give it some real bite. And let's just say anything you do socially bad, you misbehave in some way, they take money out of your account. And anything you do good, like skip the 3rd grade or something, we give you another $500. That kind of thing. And then in real life it should be kind of like that. You have some kind of resource you're given, some seed money, and the more productive you are, the good things you do, we give you some more interest. And then as soon as you do some bad shit, we take money out of the account. And then if you have kids, your kids fuck up, we take money out of your account. Anyway, but you have to have some kind of system like that. You have to have some kind of system that rewards and punishes and encourages people to be better than they are being. Not that one that just rewards them for being, aha, he's a drunk, he's funny. That kind of shit. LSD, marijuana, blah, 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 all this bullshit isn't the answer. Video games aren't the answer. All this crap isn't the answer. Yes, it's fun. Yes, blah, 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 blah. But guess what? You have to be rational. I mean, most people have gotten rational about sex, right? They're, bummer, AIDS, damn. Ruined some of the fun. But you have a workaround. You figure it out and say, okay, it's still good. Sex isn't completely ruined. So you can live your life without being a useless, stupid, ignorant, dumbass fuckhead. You can probably live without gambling. You can probably live without drinking. And you can probably live without a lot of the shit, sports. There's a lot of shit we're wasting our valuable productivity on that you could probably live without, and you know it. And you should be saying it to everybody else. Just saying, yeah, I have some really stupid addictions. They're really stupid. Don't do that. And you should be able to say that, honestly. Say, yeah, I'd rather people were better than me, not lesser than me. I don't want them to be worse than me. I want them to be better than me. I want the future human being to be kick ass. I don't want him to be less. I want him to be more. And you're not going to get that by keep rewarding people for being less than they should be. By keep rewarding people for failing more than you reward them for being honest and decent and all those good things. I mean, really, you can just see it all over. I mean, people just keep voting for crookery because there's so many jobs you can get that pays anymore. Is you have to have a job that's basically lying to somebody, right? You're selling them something, or you're overtly stealing. You know, you're calling them up and selling them Brooklyn bridges or something. But I mean, most of the economy runs on bullshit. So yeah, a bunch of people are invested in preserving bullshit. You can't admit that you really don't want that for the future. Even though you're dependent on it, you can't say, well, look, grandfather me out. Okay, let's grandfather lying scummery out and hope that we can build a better future by saying, yeah, let's not reward liars and cheaters and thieves and bullshitters. Come on. Reckless procreators. Yeah. But yeah, that's the whole thing. They're all so damn sloppy. I mean, if you just think about the money, you know, like in a place like Chicago where most of the kids don't graduate, you're paying $120,000 for somebody not to graduate. You know, whether they graduate or don't graduate, you still spent the same amount of money. And so now your graduate cost, now for every graduate, the price tag is $250,000 or maybe $350,000. So now you have this huge investment tied to this graduate. And do you think he's going to do $350,000 of productive work mowing grass? Come on. But Piro thinks there's all kinds of brilliant jobs out there where we're all going to get paid wonderful wages. But it's not how the world works. Machines have made us superfluous. He doesn't want to admit it. And this is the irony of it is he talks, you know, well, this is why he's just so full of shit, and I shouldn't even respond to him because he's so full of shit. Because he talks about having this robot future where robots do all the work. And somehow he doesn't realize that the transition from a world where robots don't do all the work and human beings have value to a world where robots do all the work and human beings just have luxury and free time, that the transition to that means that somehow you have to unemploy all the fucking people. But he won't acknowledge that fact. He'll just say, just import more people with useless skills. It'll really be great. And even if they have useful skills, let's just import so many of them that they drive the wages down for every job possible, and the rich own all of us as robots. We have less value than their fucking iPad. Oh, what a great world. We're going to be like the redundant, the archaic slave. We won't even have value as a slave because the iPod is going to be so much more valuable than we are. And that's the world we're heading right, we're crashing right the fuck into that future right now. And these assholes are talking like it doesn't exist. Like we're going to, well, we could build a railroad or something. You know, all those Syrians could come over here and build us a railroad. Yeah, with machines. Yeah, 28 of them. 28 of them will have really good jobs. Yeah, the other 4 million will be stirring lemonade. Fuck you. Anyway. So the point is, yeah, this is really difficult. So yeah, any way I can join up with Lord and Savior Snake Plissken, this guy, even though, yeah, I don't like his shtick. I don't like his glibness sometimes. I don't like his personality all that fucking much. But I like the idea that he's acknowledging there are idiots on planet Earth, and they apparently have somehow they have seized control of the steering mechanism of the bus we're riding, and that maybe the ones of us smart enough to look out the window and saying, hey, shit, we're heading for all kinds of bad news, maybe we should say, hey, it's time that we tapped them on the shoulder and said, fuck you! And took control. Became the, exercised our power. But this is an argument that you could just do in vain, right? It's like the cigarette smoker thing all over again. Cigarette smokers could have stopped it if they could have organized. But somehow they can't organize because there's Republicans and there's racists and there's feminists and they all have all these ideologies as cigarette smokers. They're all diverse and they all hate each other, and so they can't consolidate into an organized movement to say, look, we have 20 million votes, right? Cigarette smokers. They have 20 million votes. And they could go to the two parties and they say, make me an offer. Okay? How low are you willing to go? Okay? This taxation is bogus. You're violating constitutional principle by using taxation to tax a vice crime. Even to prohibit alcohol, you weren't allowed to use the tax code to do it. You had to get a constitutional amendment. So you're clearly violating constitutional principles, you cunts. You're not allowed to tax vices out of bigotry, and that's all it is bigotry. You have no scientific evidence that cigarettes are worse than alcohol. It's a ludicrous proposition on its very face. Donuts, jelly donuts are more dangerous than fucking cigarettes statistically. This is idiotic, you bigots. And well, the point is those 20 million people could basically dictate everything. Because nobody could say no to those 20 million voters. And that's the other part of it. Cigarette smokers are usually drunks and depressed and all these other things. And so they're too busy being assholes to vote. Which also doesn't help any. But anyway, I could give you the whole, I've already done this, so it's like if you go to the all for what's the instant runoff voting, IRV, all for IRV, is that it? Well, whatever. But this is fixable. We can have a democracy where we represent for our ideological beliefs, not our geography. It's the geography thing that fucks the elections. We have this outhouse of a democracy made in 60 whatever, 8. Jefferson came up with this nonsense. And it's an outhouse. It's a fucking smelly outhouse of a democracy. This whole idea of regional elections for a regional representative, and all you're doing is having the same exact election in a bunch of different regions where the same majority gets to win every election, and that's not called representation. Representation means my ideology is represented, where I affirmatively vote for somebody, not where somebody in a geographic district says, you're my constituent even though you hate my guts. No. You should never be able to tell me I voted for you when I didn't, you fucker. You're not my representative, you motherfucking cunt. I've never had a congressman I voted for. These assholes aren't anything I voted for. They're not representing me. They're not representing my ideology. This isn't a democracy. It's it's just theft. They're stealing my identity, stealing the meaning of my existence by saying they represent me when I voted against them. Overtly against them. So we can fix that. It's fixable. We can have a real representative democracy. Not that difficult to do. Apply a little bit of technology and we can have win for everyone. Everybody gets to win every election except for president. One guy has to win that one. But even that one I had a great fix for, which is the idea of having a coalition presidency where a group of smart people would get together, 6 or 7 of them, and they would run as a collective. Yes, one of them would make the blow up the world decisions, but they would basically agree that they're a democracy in themselves, and they would basically say to the American people that whatever policy we decide to do, whatever we do, we're going to talk about it and then we're going to vote on it as a collective. And so you're going to be represented by people who can't have pork interests because they're all diverse people, and they're going to know when hey, you're just doing that because that guy promised to, get your son into Harvard. Kind of bullshit. You're more likely to have an honest presidency that way. But presidents are really superfluous. I mean, people don't know that, but they really, I mean, the Congress has all the power. Anything the president does, the Congress can undo it the very next goddamn day. The president has no power. He's just a mouthpiece. A useless sack of shit. But anyway. So that's enough for the video. So yeah, I don't know if there's any, me and Snake Plisskenus. I don't think that's going to scare anybody. It's like Roach Man and Possum Man, Yeah, I don't think that's going to do it. But we'll see. Maybe somebody else will join. Mole Rat Man. Yeah, well anyway. You gotta do something. You're here, you got a brain, it's got potential, try to maximize its potential. All you can do is plead with people. Allow our brains to maximize their potential. Allow that to happen by not burying us in fucking poverty placentas. Be rational. Religion sucks. Intellectuals know that. Why would they say, let's import a bunch of religious nuts? It's good fun. No, it sucks. So anyway, I'll keep you posted if there's further developments, but I don't know. Maybe we dress up as pirates. Yeah. I'm really liking that. I've been watching these movies over and over and over again, these little pirate movies. And it is sort of starting to appeal to me. Yeah. Pirating is the way to go. Anyway. So, yeah, that's enough. Until next time and such. Yeah. But really, if I tell people, look, race has nothing to do with this. I'm a cultural bigot, okay? I just don't think bad culture is something good to import. I think civilization requires kind of an anti-cultural attitude. It requires a kind of mechanical way of looking at things. And that's the kind of culture I want. One that doesn't have, as little culture as possible. It's like it's like cologne or something. It's not that I want to cover up a smell. I don't want there to be a smell. I don't want cultural to even exist. I just want human beings to be human beings. That's it. Nothing else tied to it. No other thing. You just speak some sort of language that can be commonly understood, and you have some way of communicating with words that are, yes, we all accept that word as a rational word. Something like that. Some kind of useful way where we can live next to each other without the conflict and have the same understanding of what civilization is, which is work is good. Doing work is good. Being productive is good. Producing more than you consume. Good. I mean, that's how we judge everything in our lives. Our car, the solar panels on your roof. If they were taking more money from you than they were giving, you wouldn't want them on your fucking roof, would you? I mean, we have an obligation to be functional. Fuck. That's not complicated. But we can't be functional if we don't have a system that allows us to be functional. That forces us to basically work in a circumstance where we can't possibly make enough money to finance our own existence. Yeah, if that's the choice you're given, death or being unproductive, which you can't help because they're not giving you an alternative, a reasonable alternative, a reasonable way to take whatever skills you have and give them to the civilization. But if you're going to keep capitalizing, you're going to keep exploiting, you're going to keep waiting for a rich guy to figure out how he can make a huge cut on the deal, how he can steal half the value of your work, well, that, yeah, you're basically guaranteeing your failure. The failure of your civilization. So anyway. So I probably haven't done this well enough. So I probably have to do it over again. In some other way. Yeah, some way that's not as sloppy. But anyway. But I have been over this. So the people who've listened to Mendham videos for 10 years have heard all this crap before, most of it, in terms of what's wrong with the machinery of our civilization. And so they know the context of this is that it's obvious this isn't going to work. It's obvious that it's going to get messier and messier, and it's obvious kind of that it's going to self-destruct in some sort of not pleasant manner where dystopia, here we come. Thank you, Piero. I mean, you know, the irony is his life is basically an example of dystopia. I mean, just ruin. And he can't figure out that, oh yeah, maybe that's because I'm just a reckless asshole in how I live. I mean, I think big. I think idealistically. I do all that kind of crap. But there's no practicality, no pragmatism, none. And so it fails. He ought to run for president of the underwear gnomes. Because, yeah, he's really good at A and C, but he has no clue what that B thing is. So anyway, till next time.